We are back with Linguistic Lips. I am your host, Indian Girl Native, and we have a nice new panel this week. So to my left, we have,
Hey, I'm Vet.
and to my far left,
Yeah, I'm Chris. Defer.
and my right, we have.
Patrick.
So today's topic, we are going to be talking about the list. I remember a couple of episodes back, they was talking about my list in the middle of the episode, and I said we was going to come back around to it. So we are going to talk about the list. The list is things that you want in a partner. So I'm going to start with you, Patrick, since you have a shorter list than mine. Because remember, my list is 16. What's on your list?
Correct. So my list, to give the quick rundown, God. To me, God is always at the top of any and everything. So she does definitely have to have a belief in God, some form of a belief in God. We're not going to go into the religious aspects, but you have to have some spiritual grounding. Interdependence is what I'm gonna call it. So interdependence is a connection of two independent entities. So she has to be able to be independent on her own, me independent on my own. Then once we get together, that's interdependence. It's not dependence. It's not, any of that. Is we can stand on our own just fine. But when we get together, we can stand stronger. So it goes to my next point. She has to be able to add to me. We have to be able to add to each other. No subtraction going on. Bring something, to the proverbial table and let's make this happen. She needs to be motivated. Motivation changes throughout time. Some earlier in life, you're motivated to be in the band. Then you're motivated to go to school or go to the military. Then you're motivated later for career purposes. Later, oh, maybe I just want to travel. So, but remain motivated in life. Let's put it like that. The last one, emotional maturity or the emotional quotient, as we say in the medical area. You have to be emotionally mature. You need to be able to slow down that thought process, not act on, not react, but respond when it comes to things. So those would be my probably top five. Everything starts with aesthetics, so you have to always like what's in front of you, like to look at it visually.
The vet. If a man said these are the things I'm looking for, would you be like, that's reasonable?
I would definitely say that. I mean, and a lot of the things that he has said, I actually would say exactly what what I have, and looking as far as a man, finding a male. So yes, most definitely.
Yeah, I think the interdependence, I guess someone explained it to me as you want a merger, not an acquisition, meaning that when you merge, it's two companies that have their stuff together, coming together to make something bigger.
Did we talk about that?
I don't know. Somebody else talked.
I say that a lot, so
Yeah,
it could have been us.
And then no, it was a female. I know.
Oh, okay.
But, and then it was like I think we talked about it too. But twice I heard that, so I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
You know. And then so it's like okay, you want to acquire something that you gotta build into or put into. So I agree. I think a lot of women would be like, why I gotta come to the but I think I also think it's what part of your life you're in.
Right.
So you're in a later part of your life. So you think this list would still be the same in your 20s?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
In my 20s,
You're not in 20s, maybe even early 30s.
I didn't even have the emotional maturity, like I said, in my 20s to even think about that. In my 20s, it was what it looked like.
So
And that was
emotional
it.
maturity mean like I know how to handle the conflict of the relationship. I know how to handle it. What do you mean? What do you want from her as far as emotional maturity?
Emotional maturity is a thing also called your emotional quotient, EQ. So think about IQ, intelligence quotient, right? Emotional maturity is an emotional quotient. So in our brains, I mean, go real scientific with it. Your emotional place is like in the amygdala. So your brain synapse, let's say, reaches that point in the
You gonna
brain.
dumb this down.
I was like, man, your manigula, my manigula.
So there's a place in the brain that
So we do have.
yeah. So it's in there. Amygdala, not amygdala, but when the nerves travel, if you hit your finger and it hurts, the nerve travels to your brain. So the place that the reaction of that traveling impulse reaches First is there's a place called the amygdala. That is your emotional place. Okay. And your forebrain, which is here, is where we think, rational thought. So God made us so that it goes there first. So when something happened, what do? We fly off the handle. You know what I'm saying? So it's like because we become emotional first, and I know me, I'm a Libra. I'm all about balance. So in my younger years, that balance was so easy to just get thrown off. It was ridiculous. So now, as I've grown older, and into my early 50s, it's like it doesn't fall off so quickly. I've learned to slow down that thought process, allow it to get to my forebrain so I can think. It's almost like count backwards, slow down, deep breathe, all of these things. So you can say, hey, let me respond and not react.
So I think my point of that is because women are more emotional and men are more logical. I think I'm a little bit of both. But, because of that, I think for me to say if a man says be at that emotional level, it's that he's going to react emotionally stable first, and I need to follow that lead because most of the time, as women, we're going to need that guidance.
Agree.
But as long as we take the guidance, is that what you're saying? Does she have to be on the same level?
Well, I think it's
like
it's a it's a natural progression. It's a natural evolution. Okay, in your 20s, there are a couple of times in life as a toddler and as teenagers, toddlers and teenagers. Think about them; they have something in common. They just react, so it's difficult to deal with them. So, but as we grow older and even coming into our early 20s, we still, I don't, even when I was 20, you didn't care. You were careless, carefree, now even more so because they're so driven about the things they see and the aspects they see on social media that I don't care. I don't give this, that, and the third. It's so easy to say. It's whatever, but that's always been the case. So as you grow older, you have to learn to emotionally mature to the point where you're like, okay, look, let me slow down that and let me do this. And you evolve. There are so many people now, though, being driven and drawn by the things that they see, and it's inundating their thoughts so much that they're still acting at a younger emotional place than they should be once they're growing older. You're still acting at 40 like you damn 30.
I think that's my biggest problem is like, when you grow up in the same time period as your peers and you realize like, we didn't act like this. Why y'all allowing social media and all this stuff to take you make you act like this in the 20s? This is not how we was raised. It's not how we acted 20 years ago.
Right.
Why are you allowing this to take over? And I was like, I just don't get
stunting your growth. Yeah. I mean, you think about it. If you're doing, I heard someone say, if you're doing the same thing at 25, at 50 that you were doing at 30, you didn't grow. So if now you've gotten older and you're allowing social media or what have you to have you at 45 trying to dress like and be like and compete with those who are 25 and 30, then you're digressing. You're not progressing. So there's no growth. You grew and then you allow something else to pull you back. But the Bible says, straight and narrow is the way. So those who follow that wide path that everyone else goes, that's not the way you want to go.
So my thoughts on that, I really didn't I was spending the time trying to find another way of saying the devil's advocate because it's not really that's not what it is. I don't think the devil has an advocate at all. He has no hope. But I would say another side of that, what I would probably look at is like, but what about peak? Like once you've climbed the Mount Everest of conversation at 20 or at 15, because there are some exceptional children out here that are absolutely outpacing everyone in the world. Once you accomplish that goal, where's up from there? You know what I'm saying? So if you actually did peep everything and you averted disaster in your life at 20 and you're still the same at 50, did you peak? And did you know like, well, this is what life is about and I'm going to stick with it? Is that a possibility? I'm not saying for everybody. Clearly, that's not what you guys are talking about. But I'm saying if we're just kind of like as like a little spin to that, there are some people out there that really did find it.
And that may be an intellectual peak, but as far as that emotional peak, I think a lot of that has to come with time, with experience, because there are certain things
I would say that's what I learned because I became a parent early on, and so I was like, oh, I'm in parent mode. I need to be married. I need to do this. Da, da, da. I did all that, but I wasn't emotionally or in a place where I was ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, these are the things I need to do. These are the steps I need to take because this is where I'm at in my life. So it's like, yeah, I'm ahead of my time in this area, but I really wasn't fully invested on the emotional side.
I was just about to ask you how, in that scenario, just curious, how much did you feel like you were outpacing every woman around you in your age bracket as far as when it comes to raising kids that that were raising kids versus also people that didn't have kids?
Most of the people my age that had kids, their kids was with their mama. And they were still living life. And if they didn't have kids, they had a different mindset. They were still living at home. They was going to college. They was, sleeping on somebody's couch. And it was like, no, I gotta make money. I gotta take care of the child because it's nobody's responsibility but mine. But and not to say everybody doesn't think about that when they have a kid. Sure. But me, because I got the OCD and I'm like, I got this, but we gonna do what we gonna do. Okay, it's not gonna work with her dad. We gotta find something else because I don't want to date and have a kid. I want her to be in a 2-parent household, even if it's not with her dad. So, but I still wasn't ready because I was more focused on being financially stable than the actual relationship. So it was like anything that triggered that, oh, you messing up my money, you gotta go. Oh, me and my kid can't be out here in the street because you messing up. I gotta go. So I wasn't really, I didn't understand the whole dynamic of marriage. But it was like I knew it was the next step.
But again, it would go back to what I think what was my question, which what you asked and answered was that you still felt like you were outpacing everybody around you because of just the alertness that became about having the responsibility that the world wasn't about me anymore.
And the people who outpaced, and she definitely was one who, in my opinion, outpaced, a lot of people in her age bracket. As a young, when I was young, I was in something called Program for Exceptional Children. It was a gifted program. I probably was the only minority in the program in my area at that time. So you can intellectually, outpeak people, outpace people, like you say, go through things early. I was in a car wreck at 13 that would have traumatized a lot of people. My spirit was actually leaving my body. I felt God say, not yet. Didn't hear, felt God say not yet. So in coming back, it's almost like that level of discernment went to a whole nother other level. So growing up in my teens, I began to help raise a nephew who was 18 months. When we got him, I was 14, something like that. So I was a father by 19, but intellectually, I always outpaced everyone. I was always 5 years ahead of everyone in the thought process.
So then were you wrong at 19 then, or were you right at 19?
At 19, I was just physical. At 19, I was all about, what I'm saying? It makes me think of a time when someone found a list of mine that said, been with, gonna be with, gonna be with it a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I still go back I still go back to my question. Were you still wrong at 19 or were you right at 19?
Because
it seems like the visual is still on the list.
At the age you was at,
At the age I was at, I was totally right. I mean, because I feel like at that age, that's where you should be. At that age, that's what
you're trying to learn yourself, learn what you like,
learn life, learn everything. You don't know anything. It's like even now with the enhanced pace that little kids and the children are learning things because everything is being so exposed to them so quickly, they still don't know anything. Because that big thing we just talked about, experience, you can't learn anywhere. Experience, you got to learn as you go, right?
Yeah.
So
the only reason why I said it is because I just and thank you for sharing that point of that when God showed you a little bit not too late in the moon or not too early come back down. I think that really opens up a void in your life where you go like I don't know. Now you do. You know what I mean? So once he fills that void is.
Did you feel like you knew God before then?
Oh yes, most definitely.
You already had the relationship, and so when they came, you it's no doubt in your mind.
There was no doubt. I mean, there was.
Well, everybody else is still trying to figure it out. You kind of going like,
I know there's a God. By my family.
I actually know there's a God.
Yeah.
Hey, I know there's a God.
Most of us, it was forced by our family. We were pushed into it. I got to go to church. Got to do
this. And that happened here as well. But I might have been that person also reading a book on how complex the eye is, and then you're understanding, okay, how can an entity without some sort of thought process create an eye
Mm-hmm.
that does so many things in itself that it's amazing. How does an entity create an earth? I mean, we go in a lot of places with this that is perfectly tilted on its axis in a perfect, orbit around the sun, to whereas we're able to maintain within a realm of a range of weather that allows us to live. If
Right.
we're
It's gotta
tilted
be something.
5 degrees off, we can't survive. If we're a
Sure.
little bit off, a little bit more off in that orbit, we can't survive.
Mhm.
That's not something that just goes boom and just ends up there.
It's a
Yeah.
God.
You know,
Yeah, it's
So
just
that's important about the God thing where you said she
first and
can.
foremost,
Yeah.
so,
always
but that well, anyway, I'm
the
not.
alpha, the
She's the
omega.
interviewer. I'm not. But I would say, but that obviously, when that's interesting that it's first. But go ahead. Yeah.
Always. I mean, and it should always be first. Sometimes, especially as we're younger and growing older, still now, the visual, eye test is usually is what we see, but we have to be attracted to it. So, I mean, that's okay
That's
because
very
God created us as physical beings.
You I mean,
Now, what I'm gonna ask you about the aesthetics, because this came up in another episode, because the question is over time, aesthetic appeal. If I feel like, okay, if you find an attraction to the person, if y'all together for years down the line, that attraction is still going to be there because it's still that person.
Correct.
Just with age. So do you feel the same way, or are you more like, okay, well, you're getting older now and got a couple of wrinkles, I gotta get rid of you and find something else.
So what happens there, in my opinion, and I work in mental health, but I have a doctorate in that field, in that area. So to me, aesthetics is on the surface. It's right here. It's the top of the table.
That's how you get me.
Yeah, we're gonna see that. So it's like, yeah, that looks nice. So, but in the end, there has to be something under that table that we don't see right away, right now. We don't know what my hand is doing under this table right now. But as you get with that person and you begin to delve deeper and you start to see these things and learn that person, that's what sustains. So one thing attracts, the other thing sustains. So I like what I see. I like what I see all over the place. When I was young, just boom, 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 and wanted it all and was going to get a lot of it. However, that which you attend to remain with, or able to maintain things with, throughout the years, whether it goes from something that was a relationship to something that becomes a friendship, is what's underneath that table. So what's inside is what's going to keep it going and keep it there, because you're going to go through whatever throughout the years. You're going to fade. You're not going to look as good. I'm getting a few bags under my eyes. I'm this, that, and the third. I've always been that attractive, young man who became that attractive teenager, who became that attractive young adult, who, had the whatever, the smarts, the charisma to get whomever. But as you grow older and we start to fade and we start to do this, you gotta like what's in here, what's deeper down. That's what keeps it.
Yeah.
Well, you have a very short and to the point list. My list is a little bit longer, but I feel like your list kind of condensed my list. But I'm gonna go through my list. My list.
Your list.
Chris saw this list. He was like, "Oh," but I just want to preface again. My list is based on, because everybody thinks it's about a bunch of superficial stuff, but my list is based on the partner I need to keep me at my best.
Okay.
That's going to motivate me to stay, who I am and the best version of me. So basically, that's what my list is about. So we're going to go through this 16.
Well,
First on the list is clear vision for his life. Basically, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you're already in it, you have a plan, you are working in that. At this age, you need to be in that plan and working in that plan.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe at 20, 30, you have a goal that you're trying to reach, and that's where you're going towards. But at this point, you should already be in your vision. 2, trustworthy and speaks in kindness and love. So basically, I can trust what I'm telling you is going to stay between us. I know you're going to always speak to me in kindness. You're always going to speak to me in love. 3, argues fair, which means that we can disagree, but we don't got to get nasty. We don't have to do all that crazy stuff. 4, they have to support my fitness and health, mentally and physically, meaning that you like to work out and you support, even if you don't work out as much, but you support me working out. So it can't be you like to work out, but you don't want me to go to the gym. Like, you gotta support it on both sides. 5, loves family. I'm big on family. So, you gotta, I'm gonna love your family like they're my own, and vice versa. That's at this point, because I'm not having any more kids, so it has to be that situation where I love your family and you love mine. 6, loyal and believes in monogamy. I think that's self-explanatory. If you don't know what that means. 7, aesthetically appealing to me. So
Aesthetics.
aesthetically appealing to me. So again, I mean, I didn't put this in order of what's most important or whatever, but that's what gets you. Like, so me, I'm looking at you like, okay, I'll get into a little deeper about that, but I'm going to number 8, equipped to fulfill my desires, wants, and needs. That is X-rated. I'm being nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I need being nice. So
Endowment.
we have to be on a level in our sexual life that make sure that it's enjoyable for the both of us. So that's something that has to be in the relationship. 9, supports my dreams, businesses, and my goals. I do a lot. I'm going to support your stuff, but you got to be supportive of me and and not make me feel like you're I guess jealous or envious, because if we're together and especially if we're married, it's ours. So I need that support. 10, intellectual in ways that sparks me to be better. So even like the I thing, whatever, I said, dumb it down for us, but just conversations like that where you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I learned something new today. I want to be able to learn with my partner and grow with my partner, and they're able to teach me something, because iron sharpens iron. So that has to be important. He has to be a protector and a provider. Self-explanatory, but I don't understand why men don't understand that these days. 12, keeps us grounded, motivated, and humane. That means if he says we're going to volunteer, we're going to volunteer. If we're going to speak to the homeless real quick, drop some change, we're going to drop some change. If we're going to be kind to our server, because she might be having a bad day today. Everybody has an off day. I don't want to see you being nasty to people in the service industry just because you think everybody should already know. Because some people are new, they're learning, they're growing, and all that stuff in their field. So 13, he knows when enough is enough. So in arguments, he knows how to shut down the argument. I already discussed this in the last video. He knows how, but again, we're the emotional ones. You're all the logical ones. Someone has to be the one to say, hey, look, let's table this, move on to the next thing, and we'll get back with this tomorrow. I love you, 14, he believes in a higher power, specifically God. So I want to be specific. There's a lot of weird stuff that people think is higher. Some people might say Trump is the higher power. Right? No, God. 15, he gives me what I give him in kindness. So that means speaking in kindness, loving kindness, doing things in a loving manner. And number 16, most important, good hygiene. You can't be stank. Your teeth can't be dirty. You gotta floss. You gotta do all the good stuff. You gotta smell good, look good. Have a good hygiene. Shower daily. Thank you. So, any comments on that list? Anything that stood out?
I think the list has changed a little bit since I've been around, but
That
ain't the same.
I started this list after my divorce, by the way. I made this list after.
I mean, and everything that she has said is almost like a twin or whatever. That's everything she said is like a lot of things that I would say, as far as, a partner. God would be the first thing, but in a lot of those things I hate to repeat, but it's just, I agree with almost everything that she said on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I came a little unprepared for this as far as like a certain list of mine, but like I said, I don't want to repeat, but a lot of things she said, I agree with.
Well, just commented on, like I said, if that's the list that you have, but again, when I first was, I remember seeing the list. And of course, when you don't know what or anything, whatever, I seen the list, of course, immediately the media.
Let's make it clear. This list came after my divorce. So this wasn't like, list in our marriage that was hanging up, You just
right. So
you came by the house and you see it's on the board. It's on a whiteboard in my room.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Well, that point was, I think at that point in time, maybe when I seen that, I was thinking like, what can I do to get back together with her? At that point in time, I was like, man, tough luck, kid. Can't get that one. You know what I mean?
I ain't gonna hit that.
Yeah,
Right.
that was a toughie.
But that's another thing.
It's something she learned from being with you. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of these things are qualities that I would say I've had 2 marriages and 2 different marriages. Both very passionate people, very loving people, but they were different. So first marriage, it was a lot of smart talking mess, sarcasm, argumentative. And it was like I would cry and be upset all the time. And it's like, all right, well, if you can't beat him, join him. So I became what he was. And that's why I learned that the husband, the spouse, is the leader. the husband leads you, and a lot of women follow that lead, and a lot of men think that I can be whatever I want to be, but she has to be this. No, she's following your lead. She's going to be a nurturer, she's going to be caring, she's going to be loving till it gets to a certain point. Okay, well, this, if it's not getting me anywhere, this is how we talk to each other, this is how we deal with each other, then I'm gonna have to follow suit, because he's showing me how he wants to be spoken to, he's showing me how he wants to be handled, because this is how he handling me. So when you get to the next marriage and the person says, I came in with the sarcasm, like, oh no, we don't talk to each other like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. And you know, and it was, you know, getting to the next marriage, like, okay, this person taught me how, okay, we have to speak in kindness. Okay, we have to watch how we speak to each other. We have to watch these things. Okay, we're gonna shut this down. We're not gonna keep arguing all night about this or whatever. So it's like, you when I said the spouse is going to, the man is going to dictate what type of person I am, what characteristic I am. You know me for almost 30 years, so you know me to be feisty. I will fight in a heartbeat. I don't care. I'm gonna go off on the handle or whatever, but it takes that partner to say, we don't have to do that.
Right.
We don't have to be that way. We need to be, it's a well-roundedness. And your partner's not going to be that way every time, but you want it the majority of the time because you want peace. Because, I was in a 5-year stint. I feel like I was in prison for the past 5 years with somebody where I'm constantly trying to tell this man how to treat me, how to talk to me. Hey, look, you're going to get the worst version of me if you keep doing this. Okay, you're going to take me back to my 20s and my teens. I don't want to be
you don't want
anymore.
That, right?
Because we can go there if you want to, but I don't want to be there. And that's when I had to make the decision, like, this is not going to work for me. And it was like, oh, what you just going to teach me? I'm like, in a relationship. I'm like, no, you grown.
And question that, okay, let's using that example of that individual, of that list. You have a pretty long list. Did that person hit a lot of those points? So then, did you compromise?
3?
Did you compromise? So 3. So now let's go back. So we've all heard of the 80-20 rule, right? So 3 out of 16. 3 out of 16 is a little less than 25%, right? So you dealing with a 20%. You on the opposite end of that. He was giving you 20% of what you wanted and didn't have 80% of what you wanted. So
he didn't even get the 20%. It was 4 would have been 20%.
So you're right. I say less than 25%. So your list was telling you off top, no, run, go the way, move, blah blah blah. Did you follow your list?
No.
Are you true to yourself? Because that's who you are. So when you have a list that long, like, what percentage of that list needs to be met before you're like, it's a go? Because in that instant,
I would say at least 12.
12%?
At least 12 out of the 16.
12, okay.
12
6, so 75% of that list.
Yeah.
So why did you shortchange yourself so much in that situation?
I think what a lot of women do is they're like, well, I'm already here. Let's see what happens. Like,
even though I know that.
Or if you're out here dating.
I'm running into the wind. I'm running into a hurricane.
If you're out here dating, you're like, man, it's a lot of garbage. And the person even said, it's a lot of garbage already. I might as well do what you know.
See the things that you do like about it, so let me get it.
So settle.
Yeah, the whole thing they change.
So settle.
This is what we have to stop doing as women and men. Stop looking at the potential. Look, and I preach this all the time,
right.
Although I don't follow it. It's like you got to look at this person and say to yourself, if nothing changed about this person, can I stay?
Why you preach it and don't follow it though? Why you preach it then and don't follow it?
I'm following it.
Are you really? Oh yeah. Nah, see, no, you on that.
You don't like about that person.
Yeah. So it's like you got to look at that. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
His teeth is not as straight as I like, but you know what? He brushes them teeth 3 times a day, so I'm good. We can work. That's something you could pay to fix.
I have a question. You mentioned, you said you saw a list or whatever. This is like added on. So
no, this is the same list.
Oh, same list. But then you said you didn't want to try to go back or whatever because you kind of saw the list. You was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to compete type thing.
No. I wouldn't have I'm not going to try to go back. It's like, from how I remembered it, obviously everybody's got their own opinion about everything that they do. And, I think when I first seen it, I thought like, oh, well, this was the list the whole time. I'm not even half this, so to
I
speak.
didn't come up with this list until after divorce. Because it's like, of course, the realization of what I need in my life. And again, that comes from being married twice. And again, you had a lot of things on this list. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she heard this list like, oh, yeah,
well, here's where a lot of women would go wrong is, because there's always been these lists and whatever and whatnot. you know. And since the onset of, you know, the internet and all of these kinds of things, it began to grow and become more obvious. It was almost like a checkoff list, like an application. So if I'm just getting to know someone and then she's running down all of this, and asking me these questions,
Well, you're not
this
gonna
ain't no
know all
damn
this stuff
job.
up
This ain't no
front.
damn
Yeah.
job interview. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, and to me, like, that's already a turn off right there. So
But a lot of women are doing these lists based on, oh, he got to have money. He got to, like I said, protector and provider. I didn't say, this not talking about 50-50. This not talking about financials really, but, you know, protector, provider, whatever that means to you. Again, a lot of women are going off of a lot of superficial things.
but you're way more advanced than, remember, we've already established that most people, your mind state.
I would like to put a flip of the coin on that too. No, I mean, the list could be a lot longer. I mean, frankly, you can say, first of all, no, I don't want anyone who's been a child molester. You know, I don't want anybody who's been accused of being a rapist. I want no one who's murdered anyone, especially women. That's subsection B. You know, I mean,
Got
so
a lot of
you
DV charges.
could really add to the list, and there was the obvious, like, come on now. Of course, I mean, no. Even though you meet all of these things, this is really good, but you did just got out of prison for murder.
See,
You know,
those,
But
now,
you, that hits right there. You don't know when enough is enough.
but now
You
those
know,
are,
you didn't know when
now,
enough is enough.
that's what would be called a fatal flaw.
You didn't believe in
A fatal flaw.
So
you didn't believe in God.
you know,
You hit on the Ten Commandments. So
I
well,
remember.
no, he was in prison. He came to Jesus. He changed his life and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me
You got right.
Let me tell you this.
There's
My
many nuances.
brother is 1 in a million. And I tried to go in saying, oh, you know what? They got locked up. It's fine. My brother is, and I got the highest IQ of anyone I know, maybe except for Patrick here. But I'm like, he got a really high IQ. He's very intelligent. He got caught up in a bad situation and did 22 and a half years. He came out with his wife. He's working, doing everything.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah. And like nothing ever happened. He's a rarity. So, but in my mind, I was like, oh, okay. You know, I'm trying to be open to people. Okay, you had a record. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, nah.
But y'all are cut from the same cloth,
Yeah,
though, right?
okay,
so
okay.
we've already established
So-
that y'all kind of have an advanced mind state. You know what I'm saying? But these things, real quick, are called, like I said, a fatal flaw. I remember sometime in my early 20s, I read this book when we actually read books back in the day, and it was on fatal flaws
you
of
mean an
relationships.
audiobook?
I was training about relationships, even though I ain't really want one back then. So it was just like, but certain things is just it's fatal. It's a flaw. That flaw is gonna kill this situation right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you've done this, it's over.
Yeah, I was
So,
telling
you
y'all
know,
how
so
I
would go.
that dude that had, I sell cars for myself and I make dogs, blah, blah, blah. And I was locked up with, you know, a couple of weed charges. I said, so you knew you wasn't good at it because you done got locked up a certain number of times. You still selling weed and getting locked up. What made you, you know, realize, hey, I need to do something else? I was went around my family. And part of me was like, oh, well, this is in his 20s. He learned his lesson. He's doing something else. But I'm like, how long was you in there? You know, what? I'm like, should I give you
What
a
did
shot?
you do? And why did you get out, and what did you do with your life since then?
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. He was like, he sell cars, he sell dogs. He was like, I really can't get work. I'm like, my brother got work. You know, did you really want to go work for somebody? Did you really want to?
But back to your question about the list. So I did look at the list, and when I seen the list, I did see some things that wasn't me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I was out of it. So it was a little bit more of well, it's over between me and her for real. So, but I did see the list, and I go like, well, this is a very good list. However, I'm like, I know I'm not that. So now that I've grown, she's grown, I've grown, and we definitely grown apart. So that's more so what I looked at when I looked at that list. Like, yeah, there's some stuff that's on there that's not me, you know, and it can't be me, you know, clearly, you know.
And that's where that growth and maturity came in,
Yeah.
because I'm sure her list was not that long at one point.
Yeah,
I never even had a
Or
list.
she didn't have a list at all. So there you go.
I didn't have a list. Then you get to a certain point, you're like, hey, look, stop saying yes just because they want you. They want to be with you. You can't just be with everybody just because they want to be with you and they press you to be with you. You gotta make sure this is what you want, is what's going to work with you. Because it's like I was going along to get along. Like, okay, they really feel like both members like God. I'm like, oh God, okay, this is God's work. Okay, I'm gonna trust this and I'm gonna go here. And it's like, and it's a lot of things in your life. So even after, because I'm an empty nester, it's like Christmas came around. And it was like, you're not putting up a tree. And I'm like, no, why? I was like, well, you just gonna. I said, I started thinking to myself, are you putting up? Did you do all this holiday stuff because this is what you like to do, or because this is your dad's favorite holiday and he made a big deal about it, so you made a big deal about it for the kids and you did it for the kids? Is this something you really wanted? And I was like, I didn't really care. I didn't really care about the decorations and stuff. So it's like I got to start asking ask these questions to myself. Do you really want this, or was you doing it for the other person or the other people in your life? And a lot of things I was doing is to make everybody else happy. And that's why all of my relationships fizzled, because it's like, all right, I'm tired of this. I don't like it. Nothing's being met for me. I'm not feeling anything for me. I'm not feeling.
We all got to
when
compromise,
we
but we
split
just
up.
can't do a wholesale change.
Yeah, I think that part when we split up, that was probably one of my major, like, when we talk about, are you guys truly friends? Like, yeah. Because I knew, like, one, she's a good person. If I'm not in it, she needs to find a really good person because she deserves somebody good. So I'm like, you got to be careful on who you select then. Like, what do you want for real? So that right there, the list, when I seen the list, I was like, well, I mean, that's a huge start, because if you got all those things, then this is going to be good for you.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then when I realized the things that the things
I was
that
hoping
I
she
wasn't
stuck
getting
to it though, and then
I was
when we told
already-
the guy with the 16%, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever, 20% or whatever.
But she
I'm
stuck.
like,
But she
y'all
stuck
know
with
what?
that for 5 years.
Look,
Yeah.
hey Patrick,
I believed in this
Patrick, you
person.
go like, yo, what happened to your list?
Hey, whether the list just
The
went to
list
hell.
just-
And I'm telling you, what ended was like I really was like, he was like, well, what is it? I like, you see this list every day. You see everything on this list. You know what I'm looking
You're
for.
none of it.
Like, and you it's like, I feel like you intentionally went against everything on this list.
Look, hey, Charity, it's liking the list unto y'all. She's got a vision board. She got a vision board. It's like you listen to y'all's vision boards. I'm going like, well, I'm no Kevin Hart. I'm no Dwayne Rock Johnson.
I got the vision board too. And,
Where do I fit in this video?
Exactly.
I did a vision board. This is the 2019 vision board. It was not on there to get a divorce, but guess what? I was like, oh, well, that was on my vision board. But yeah, I did a vision board too. And in the marriage, it's different from being single, because like being single was like reciprocity was the biggest word on the vision board. Like, what I'm giving you, you need to give back to me. And it's like, it was just I just created a soul tie that was it was just making it difficult to break the soul.
So do you feel like that your list is if used, is it good? Is it a good shield from bad relationships now? Is that your lesson that you've learned from the bad one, or
yeah, because now I'm out here dating and
do you use that list?
Are you applying your list?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm out here dating now, but then it gets to the point where like, are you being too harsh? Like, if Freckles was here right now, she said she went away with the list because she felt like it was stopping her from what God wanted. I said, that's because you're thinking of a superficial list, But I said my list is not superficial. It's really, again, so we go back to the fitness thing. It's like I have to work out. And I have to eat right. I have to work out and whatever to maintain, health. I want to live a long time. So I might say, I got this man that's aesthetically appealing. He's, I like him 6'2", 3, 4, whatever. And like, I want him tall. I want him in shape, but he could be tall and in shape naturally, and he don't work out. So what happens is we're in a relationship together and you're like, you look good, but you don't work out. And then you get mad every time I go work out, or you got a problem with me working out and you like to eat around the clock. So I'm nurturing to you and I'm catering to you. So I'm cooking you meals and I'm eating those meals too.
It doesn't fit in your into your program.
It's like I was in a relationship with somebody that worked out just as much as I did and eat just like I did. The relationship didn't work, but it was like, we went to the gym together. We compromised on the time because I like to go at 6. He liked to go at 9. So we was going at 7:30. So we compromised on the time. We worked out together. We ate together. And they just had that one aspect though. And it was like, that was something I needed to stay on track, because as women, we're going to cater. Right? We're going to cater to them. We're going to, and if you veer away from that catering, they were like, you don't love me. You don't this, you don't that. Why you ain't?
So that boils down to support. right? So I need you to support
Yeah.
me in what I do. Even if you don't go support me. So on my list, that was add to, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to add to me.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to support me. Don't take away from, if you already got this workout regimen, this person don't, but then here they come discouraging you. Now you trying to take away from me. This shit ain't gonna
The
work.
flip side of that is a lot of my friends, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into him. He's got 25 pounds too much. Girl, you a trainer. You can work him out. I say, I need motivation. I don't want to have to motivate him too. Like if he's not already doing it, now you're telling me that I gotta motivate myself to work out.
But how much of your list did that person meet? Though?
Yeah,
See, there's the question.
I would.
And where do you compromise based upon how much
he's
they
willing,
meet?
If
he's willing, but you saying this man got 25 pounds because he don't.
But he hit everything else on your list except them 25 pounds.
Encouragement, woman like.
Yeah.
What if he
I'm
hit?
like, I don't want to. At this age.
So what if he hit every other thing except that 25 pounds? That one thing out the list.